Hi guys, this is Dormouse03 continuing my Assassin's Creed 3 Perfectionist Guide where I will be getting 100% of the main mission objectives in Assassin's Creed 3 and showing you how you can do the same. So, this is sequence 4 and you're going to start off following these kids and you just follow them through the forest. There's nothing really happening here, and once you get where you are going, you'll have a little cutscene, and then you will be playing a game of hide and seek, and you're supposed to find all your friends. And so you have two constraints right now. You have to find all the kids without making a mistake, and that means not searching in any place where they are not actually hiding. And then you have to find all the kids within the given time, which is going to be 4 minutes. So you just go around here. If you look at these little hourglass symbols, those are clues, and when you find the clues, it sort of narrows the search radius. And so the first group of kids are just over here on this rock. And so you want to be finding those clues and narrowing that radius. I suppose, I'm pretty sure they hide in the same spots every time. So if you just watch this and find out where they are, you can go directly there without having to look at the clues, probably. But they will help you sort of narrow it down so that you don't make a mistake and look in one of the places where they're not actually hiding. And so those two, the first two, were up on top of a rock. Both of the other, or all of the other kids that you're finding, are going to be in these little piles of leaves and branches and sticks and things. And so you just want to be pretty careful, because there are a couple of places that they could be hiding. And so I decided to go with this one, and that is the bush where they are. So just don't worry too much about the time. You have plenty of time to do this. I've already found 2 of the 3, and I didn't do it super fast. And I'm only at halfway through my time. So you just want to be pretty careful and make sure that you don't go to the wrong spot, or else you're going to need to reload your checkpoint and start finding them again. So this chapter, this sequence, is fairly straightforward. There are a couple of tricky parameters, but it's pretty short. It's pretty simple as far as just getting through the missions. And there's a lot of sections where you're just running from place to place, so I'm gonna either cut those out or try to speed things up a little bit just to save some time, because there are sections where you're just doing stuff and there's not really anything I can comment on when you're just running from one place to another. So those are the last group of kids. You head back to this icon, and then they're going to tell you to play hide and seek one more time, and you just go and you hide anywhere. So you can hide wherever you want right now. It doesn't really matter. It'll just trigger the next cutscene. And so after that, you'll see that both of your mission constraints are blue, and you will have completed all of the optional objectives for this section. And so now you're just heading back into your village, and trying to find your mom. And again, it's pretty straightforward right here, so I'm going to be going through sort of quickly just to get back to her. You do have a couple of little quick time event things where you have to move debris and stuff out of the way, but it's nothing super complicated. So we'll just breeze right through this section. And so once you finish that, you will have all your full synchronization in that mission. And so then it skips forward in time. You have a couple of cutscenes, and it introduces you to free running in the trees. And so the idea here is that you only push right trigger. You don't have to hold down A, and if you do hold down A, you're going to probably jump off at places where you don't want to. So you're only holding the right trigger in order to kind of flow from branch to branch. As I fail to have seen the tree that I needed to step on. That's right there. So you come over to this tree and you hold down your right trigger, and it shows you how you sort of seamlessly move from branch to branch. But you do have to be sort of careful when you're doing this, because you can jump off, especially when you get to these V-shaped sequences, and sometimes you can climb up to get to a higher spot within those V-shaped branches. After that, you're going to get another optional objective, which is now you cannot touch the ground or water, so it wants you to continue to just run through these trees. And so you want to be careful and follow this path here. And so these rocks don't count as ground for whatever reason. So right there. And then your buddy who's following you is going to get stuck right there. So don't go too far ahead. When you get to that rock, kind of just stop so you can go back and get him. Because if you keep going, you will desync for losing your ally or whatnot. And so just pause there and wait until he falls. Then go pick him up. And so now you're still trying to not touch water or ground. And this part is slightly trickier than the last section, because you're going to be trying to get a I had to cut out a little mistake right then. It's really easy to jump off if you're just holding RT and sort of moving forward. So you want to be cautious. And so now it wants you to get a feather. And so you want to be careful here, because some of these rocks, if you stand on them, they will count as ground. Some of them will count, some of them won't. That one that I was hanging off of right there, I believe counts as ground, so you want to make sure that you don't land on top of it or accidentally climb up on top of it, or it will fail you. Now this rock right there doesn't count. So you can keep moving upward. It's really strange how some of the spots on this rock face will count as touching the ground, and some of them won't. When I first started doing this part, I touched the ground there on the first place where I jumped from the tree, and I was like, oh my god, how am I going to be able to do this if I can't climb up on these rocks? Because there's just no way. And so right here I risked it, and that spot right there also apparently does not fail you, which is good to know. And again, I believe you can climb up here too, because you have to touch the tops of some of these rocks. There's just no way to get to that feather if you don't. So right here you're fine. Sometimes it's hard, it's finicky to get onto some of the logs from the side. But at this point, if you haven't had a big red thing come up that says that you failed that objective, you should be fine. Just be careful on that rock face right there, because it can fail you pretty easily. And so you will have completed that constraint after you have that little cutscene. You were supposed to fall off, so don't worry about that. And now we're just finding 3 more feathers for the clan chief. And again, this is pretty straightforward, and so I'm gonna show you where they are, but I'm gonna move through it pretty quickly, just to, you know, you don't need to see me running around a forest for 5 minutes. So there are a total of 3 feathers that you need to find in order to fulfill this second optional objective for this mission, and they're pretty simple to find. They will show up on your map as you run around the forest. as a little feather icon on your map. So again, pretty straightforward. You just want to make sure that you find all 3 of them before you go to that yellow marker to continue on. And so after you find them all, you go back to your friend, and it's going to do something that it does sometimes that's sort of annoying, where most of the time when you finish one of your missions, it will come up and say, you know, show you your progress and show you that you got however many points and full synchronization, and then sometimes it just won't do that and it'll show the next mission, which is sort of annoying. So that's what happens here, and so I always check to make sure. So yeah, you saw how it didn't show that there, but you go into your menu, you see that you didn't touch the ground, and you found all 3 of the feathers, and those are the only 2 constraints other than doing them both in one playthrough, and then you will have your full sync for that mission. So this next section I'm going to skip through kind of quickly as well. It's just basically a tutorial for hunting. So the hunting in this game is so much fun, and this is where it kind of shows you how to do that. So you have your bow and arrow, you fire, you've killed the bunny, and then you go, you push B to skin it, and then you're going to be setting a snare. So you go into your menu, you choose your snare, and then you hold down Y to place it, and then you're gonna go and hunt some deer while the snares are catching stuff. So you go and you're sort of tracking these deer. You can look for clues to like find where the animal is, and then it's going to show you how to bait the animal. So again, you go into your little wheel by holding RB. You select the bait, and then you push Y to put the bait out, and you stay hidden, and the animal will come over, and then you just kill it. So, and again, push B to skin. So that's pretty straightforward. You go back, you find that animals have now been caught in your snares, and that ends the little tutorial section. So now you'll be getting 3 more optional objectives, and so whenever there are more than one, it's kind of hard to keep track with the amount of time that it shows them there, so I always like to go in and make sure that I know what they are. And so for this, you want to hunt 3 different types of animals, and there are 3 exactly that you can find. Combine bait and snare, and air assassinate 2 animals. So those are going to be the things that we will do now. And so again, I'm speeding things up a little bit just because the hunting can be sort of slow going, but I'm going to show you how I managed to get all 3 of these things. So the first thing that I did was I tried to find a suitable spot to place a snare and some bait. And so once I found a spot that said there is a hare in the area or something, I put down a snare and I threw down some bait. And now this does not work. And I'm not sure why. It doesn't complete the thing, but it didn't. And so it did catch a bunny for me, but it, which I'll come back and get later, but it didn't complete that objective. So who knows why that doesn't work, but I'll show you how I did get it. So I wanted to make sure to try and get these air assassinations out of the way pretty quickly, and I was able to get that deer right there, and that gives me 1 out of 2 air assassinations, and it also gives me the first of the 3 types of animals that I need to find. And so you just want to keep looking around. The animals will, run from you, as they should, and so you kind of can't be openly running around too much. You want to be using the little bushes and trees and things. So you get your second air assassination, and that's that one out of the way. And then we're going to work on the other two constraints. So right now I'm going to be trying to kill a fox, because that is one of the other animals in the area. And so I bait, and wait for it to come over to the bush and kill it. And so there I cut out where I was running around trying to find my snare, but I did find it. It had caught a bunny, and I was able to then skin that bunny and get my third animal. And then I sort of wandered around a bit trying to find a suitable spot where there were some smaller animals, because the snares don't really work on the deer. And so I decided to wait in this bush and put down a snare, and then wait until a fox came over. I mean, it could have been a bunny as well, but it was a fox that I ended up finding. And so I just sat here, like, right beside my snare, waited for a fox, and then when I saw one that was sort of close, I put down some bait and waited for it to come over and get caught in the snare. And I don't know why this didn't work on the bunny that I caught earlier. I couldn't say. Maybe it was because I wasn't hanging out in the area to actually see it for it to register that that's what happened. I don't know. But in any case, that's how you can get that optional constraint done. So that's all three. You run back to your friend, and then he is in some trouble. Once you get back to him, there will be a little cutscene, and then you'll be fighting a bear. And so when you're fighting this bear, you just have to push these quick time events. You want to make sure to hit the B in order to dodge, and then you can either stay and fight him by pushing the little quick times, or you can just run away. And if you choose to run away, once you reach the outside of that red radius, you will have successfully escaped, and you can just head back to your camp to end the mission. And you should have completed all your constraints. So there you go. That is hunting lessons 100%. Just be patient on the hunting. Sometimes it can take a little while to find the animals that you need, or get them to come over and get those three constraints done. But it's not difficult. You just need to sort of be patient with it and make sure that you're ticking off those boxes before you skin your last animal. So we have one more mission, and it is difficult. I mean, it's not the most difficult thing on earth, but it's fairly challenging to complete this one without crashing. And a lot of it has to do with having a little bit of luck. So right now you're going to be flying as an eagle, and you're going to be using your left stick to navigate the eagle, and you want to not hit anything. So you can't hit any of these trees, and it is sort of forgiving because it allows you to get hit once before it fails you. So you just can't get hit by two things. So I like to try to stay sort of high, but this right here is what's going to mess you up. So it has these spots where it'll slow you down for a second, and that can really put you at a bad spot coming out of it. So I sort of flailed right there and hit that tree, because it's difficult to maneuver your camera coming out of those places where it slows you down and gives you that little pause. So just be careful of those. Like I said, you do get the one hit. You just can't hit things twice. So I like to try to stay high because I find it's sort of easier to avoid the branches. They're farther spaced out when I'm up in the air, and that's just my preference. and trying to like go under things is more challenging than it probably needs to be. So just if you try to stay high, and if you try to stay over to the sort of edges, I know I was sort of in the middle of the forest just then. You kind of have to go with wherever you are. You then have to go with it. So, and this cave, just memorize sort of this route, because it can be kind of hard to see where you're supposed to be going, especially when it does that, where it slows you down and pauses you, and you're like, ah, and there's all this crap on your screen that's very distracting. So just sort of memorize this path, because this is the last part of that mission. So after you make it through the cave, you should have completed that section. That can be hard. You can get lucky and do it your first time, or you can sit there and fail several times, and it can be sort of frustrating for you. So here's hoping that it is the former and not the latter for you. So that is the end of sequence 4. You'll get your achievement for completing the sequence, and you should have all of your optional objectives complete. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope it's been helping, and I will see you for sequence 5.